Shall we have a little end of season roundup on the plot? Here we go, look, last of the cucumbers. One plant in particular seems to have really picked up late on in the season. I can't remember exactly what they were. I'll have kept the tabs somewhere. We've got the ridge ones at the back here. There's only one little ridge cucumber left there. But they've been chucking out cucumbers at a rate of knots, these two at the back. And this one's got, you can see this one, pretty much done for now. This one here, it's still trailing up along the back there. Chickens have been eating them. And now later on in the season we're getting these F1s coming through. They might be Fem Spot or something like that. But they're still coming on strong, look. As long as it doesn't get too cold, we'll be eating them for a little while. Look at the teasel there. We saw this a few weeks ago. It was fully in flower and it had all its little ponds going on in the leaves with insects in the ponds. But teasel seems to be one of those plants that as soon as the very second it's seeded, that's it just stops growing. Birds have been on here, taking all the seeds out. And there's absolutely, well, millions of seeds on this plot for them. Don't hang around the teasel. Tomatoes. I grew the biggest tomato I've ever seen in my life on this one here. I weighed it at home, I can't remember what it weighed. I'll put it on the screen later. These beefsteak ones, they're taking a while to ripen, and these ones that haven't ripened yet might struggle, to be honest. We're getting a bit late in the season. But I've had quite a few ripe ones off it. And the biggest one I had, which was down here, seriously, I could barely fit it in my hand. It was enormous. It's in the freezer. Kept it for prosperity. And these plum ones are doing well. Again, they want to get a shift on in terms of ripening. But, same as all the others, I've already had loads off of them, and I've got bags and bags and bags full of tomatoes in the freezer, waiting to be processed. So, to be honest, if these don't ripen, I'm not going to be too fussed, because I've got my work cut out as it is. And the figs just haven't stopped coming. The tomatoes, the cucumbers and the figs all actually really benefited from that hot summer. As long as I kept them watered, obviously, you know. But I've been eating so many figs off of this, and it's still putting out more. I can't see any ripe ones today, which is a shame because they're so nice. No, not any ripe ones yet. But again, that's been pretty prolific. Say hello to the chickens. Hello girls, you alright? What you doing? What you doing? Chasing each other. Enjoying your cucumber, eh? Ah, now, did you just see what Shirley did there? She jumped in front of me and hopped down and stuck her bum in the air. That's because she thinks I'm a cock. Every time I come in here, she presents herself to me. It's because I bring her food. She thinks I'm a cock. I have been called that in the past. I prefer the term rooster. We'll get over to the sweet corn in a minute. That's something else that did very well this year. On the way down there though, we need to talk about the potatoes, because they've been dire. These are my main crop potatoes. Main crop potatoes. They should be spilling over the beds. Yet I've got these spindly little plants. I'm guessing it was because of the dry. I know all of my mulching does help a lot, but potatoes need a lot of water. So we're yet to see what I'm going to get there. They're my Sarpomeras. Very blight proof. They're great potatoes, and usually they grow like crazy, but not this year. And it's not just my main crops. I've still got in the ground some of my second earlies. You can just see a few plants dotted along the back there. I've taken all this lot out already, but they didn't do too well either. The main crops back there fared worse. These second earlies did slightly better, but then they went in the ground earlier in the year when it was a bit wetter, so there you go, hey ho, you can't win them all. These did badly. All my squashes, my outdoor squashes, cucumbers I suppose are kind of technically squashes, but these are my butternut squashes, and I've got 2 courgette plants. Now courgettes are normally, you can't keep up with them. I've been getting 1 or 2 courgettes a week, whereas normally on a good year you get 1 or 2 courgettes a day per plant. And my butternut squashes. Look at these tiny little things. I mean, all I ever do with them is roast them and make them into soup. So it really doesn't matter if they're small, to me at least. But this is a surprise. Look, I've got 1 decent sized one in the middle there. This is a surprise. They usually do really well. Again, it must just be because of the heat, the lack of water. 1 empty bed, where once was many onions. They did well. The onions did great actually. And I'm going to put some of that down to the fact that I spent a tiny little bit of extra money when I bought my bulbs, my onion sets. I spent a tiny little bit of extra money, I think it was about an extra £1.50 a bag or something, to get the heat treated ones, which shouldn't bolt. And they didn't. I think out of the whole lot I had 1 onion that bolted. Normally I have to, not chuck out, but I have to use very quickly lots of onions that have bolted. Didn't happen this year. So they were a good discovery. I'm going to stick to those. And the sweet corn did absolutely brilliantly. I've actually still got a bag of cobs in the back of the car that I've just bought from home to feed to the chickens because I couldn't cook them and give them away quick enough. Now you can freeze sweet corn. I choose not to because I don't know if you've ever had it, but in some supermarkets you can buy ready cooked sweet corn that's in a sort of little vacuum sealed plastic package, and it tastes awful. When you've frozen sweet corn, it tastes like that. It's rubbery and it hasn't got much flavour. So I choose not to freeze it, although I could. I'll just eat as much as I can and give away as much as I can. That was good. It did well. Everybody knows sweet corn likes a lot of heat. I was expecting it to suffer in the dry, and I didn't water the sweet corn once. Throughout that whole summer I didn't water it once, or the onions. I'm just relying on my thick mulches. And it seemed to do the trick, except for the potatoes obviously. The Victoria plum there still hasn't fruited properly. She had a few on her this year, but not many. Look at the size of it. It's been in the ground for 8 years now, and it's grown so well, feeding on the remains of Buster the rabbit buried underneath it. Fingers crossed for next year. It's had its big prune this year. I've opened it out and thinned out the middle a bit, put it in good stead for a decent fruit next year. We'll see what happens. That little pear tree didn't produce any this year. I think I only put it in 2 years ago, so that's fair enough. And it's still on its way. Look, it's only tiny. Now this plum tree over here, I don't know what's going on with that. I thought I'd bought a plum called Opal, and it's fruited for the first year this year. I thought I'd bought a plum called Opal, which as I understand it is a very round, quite large plum. What I've been getting, we might see 1 or 2 on the floor still. These lovely little cherry plums. Here's one. Obviously that's been on the floor rotting somewhat, but these lovely little yellow cherry plums, and they're delicious. They're really sweet. They're lovely. Not what I expected. I'm sure this was Opal when I bought it. It's covered in these little thorns as well, look. Maybe I need to try and re-identify this tree. Anyway, I'm pleased with that. They're gorgeous. What else? Oh, the other pear tree over here, that produced absolutely loads. Again, couldn't eat them or give them away quickly enough, and made a really nice pear tart. What do they call it? A frangipan. Like a Ponzi flan. Really, really nice that was. Now, let's have a quick look at the wildflower bed and the pond. I had a big clear out of the pond the other day. It had got quite overgrown. There you go, you can see water again now. Mr. Frog's still around, see him occasionally. And I haven't done anything whatsoever with the wildlife flower bed this year. Oh, the mint's doing well, look. Mint's flowering away there. I didn't do anything with it. I didn't even clear out last year's old rubbish. I just let everything self-seed and regrow. I suppose that's the whole idea really, isn't it, with the wildlife bed. Big Susie's doing a grand job as both a recreational vehicle and a workhorse. Right, let's have a quick look at the cider plot. See how those trees are doing. I've done a lot of work thinning those out. The big trees at my brother's end, because they got so overgrown, they weren't happy at all. God, Sue and Vern's flower beds are looking good, aren't they? Right, yeah, we've got cherry tree in the middle, an apple tree there, and a pear tree there. And they were all so entwined and thick, it was terrible. I got up there and I cut loads and loads of wood out of all of them. So now, cherry tree, I still need to, when my brother's free, it still wants two of us to go. I just want him to foot the ladder basically, so I can go up a bit higher and just top some of those branches off, cut them a bit shorter and bring its height down a bit. But I thinned it all right out. They harvested these apples the other day. They were lovely, really nice sort of golden delicious type apples. There's still a few on there. There's one with a bit of a mark on it, but look. They're really, really tasty apples, these. He struck gold inheriting that tree. Oh, there's quite a few. Oh yeah, he's still got quite a few on there. So I got lots of important jobs done. Stood these trees in much better stead for the coming years. You know, get much better harvests out of them. And you should see some of the pears that my brother had on his kitchen side yesterday that he'd taken off this tree. There's one there. Look, two there. Look, they're huge. You probably can't tell, but they're massive pears. These ones all contributed to the cider. What was it? Oh God, I don't know how many flipping bottles it was. Lots of litres of scrumpy. All came from these trees. And actually I can see I've got my little plum tree here. Still got two on it. Thought I'd had them all. Oh no, they're split open. We'll let the wasps have them. But they were very nice as well. They were good plums. I know it was a really terrible year for some people. I didn't do too badly because of the heavy mulching. I think that helped a lot. The lack of rainfall. Biggest disappointment is, well, we're yet to see exactly what I get when I dig up those potatoes, but I'm not expecting good results. Biggest disappointment then is the potatoes, and I didn't get any peas or carrots done this year. Really bad start to the year, what with transport and weather and all sorts of things. These are normally full of carrots. You can see these two are just full of grass this year. They're not so bad, but normally I've got 4 bathtubs of carrots on the go. I didn't do that, and that's a shame because I really love homegrown carrots. They're so tasty, and I use them in everything as well. You know, pretty much anything that I'm cooking in a soup or a stew, it'll have onions in it, it'll have carrots in it. So that's a staple that I didn't get to grow. And the other one was peas. I love peas, but I'm not too bothered because they're cheap as anything in the shops, and by the time you've frozen them, which I always do, they don't taste that different to the ones from the shops, and they're very labour intensive at harvest time. If I was shelling peas at the moment, I'd be doing nothing else. So anyway, years come and go, don't they? Some are better than others, and this one wasn't all over bad, just a bit of a weird one. Any kites? They've all been over that way today. I think the farmer's turning over the field and disturbing lots of little rodents and things. Right, I'm all done for today. A bit tired now, and I need to get home and do my CV. Fingers crossed.